Okay, and using the snips that we talked about earlier, we're just going to line up on that black line, and we're going to trim away the excess. Now, I can't really hold the camera and do this. It does require two hands. So you go ahead and use your snips and trim away the excess material, and then give it a dry fit to make sure that it's going to work. And just to avoid any problems you might have, try to come at it like this with this angle here, because what will happen is this metal right here will curl up, and this should be unaffected. There'll be some a little bit of deformation that happens on this waste product, what's going to be the part you're trimming away, and you want to keep this straight as possible. So trimming it with this orientation will help with that problem. So here's the curl. This is the piece that I trimmed away, and this is the piece that remains on your Amicus. As you can see, it's got a little bit of a curl or a twist to it, and very little deformation on the leg itself. That leg will remain straight, but if you use the snips incorrectly, all that deformation is going to happen right here on the leg, and you really don't want that. Now I just did my dry run using the entire length of the stud, and it took a fair bit of pressure. I did get it together, but you can shorten this bolt a little bit, just like I did here. I ended up using a flap wheel on a grinder, and that flap wheel just pressed right against the head of the bolt. I was able to shorten it down to where it was just barely sticking through right there on this T-nut, and that should give you the additional ease of installation that you might find that is necessary, depending on how much strength you really want it to have. But you are going to have to give it a fair amount of pressure to join the upper and lower section if you have the full length of the bolt. You can shorten it up just the way I did. You can use a hacksaw, a cutoff wheel. Obviously you need to wear proper protective equipment so you don't injure yourself, and so take the necessary precautions to prevent injury. But this is pretty solid, and once I do this to all three, this thing should snap together very easily. Okay, so I got all three of them in. I don't know if you can see down in there. There's a little bit of a gap that's created by that T-nut. But all three of them went in really easily after I trimmed down the head of that 3/4 inch bolt, and it picks up as one solid unit. Now, should you choose to purchase the rivnut kit, this one is already set up. It comes with a variety of sizes of rivnuts, but to get this to work, you have to thread this rivnut onto this stud, and these studs have heads that are interchangeable, but you use that size rivnut, and you're going to drill both the pan and the upper section leg holes the exact same diameter, just big enough for this to slip through but not loose. All right, but when you use this, you have to expand this out into this position. You see that gap right there? You're going to continue to run that all the way down so that these stay open on their own, and then it's ready to insert through a hole and to install the rivnut. Okay, so we got just a piece of scrap sheet metal here, and I just wanted to show you how this works. So once this is in this hole that we've drilled, all right, all you're really going to do is just start compressing. Now obviously this piece of metal is a little bit difficult to hold, but when you press those two handles together, it will actually pull this thing and compress it and lock it solid on that piece of sheet steel. And then of course, to get it out, you have to rotate the rivnut tool. I'm just going to spin this piece. This is a lot easier when it's on a larger piece of metal, like your Amicus Fire Pit. But there it is. That is locked in there. That's solid. That's the locator pin for the legs. This will do the same thing as what the other method of installation, but it does require the use of one of these rivnut tools, and at least 3 of these rivnuts. So if you want to add this to your collection of tools in your shop, it'd be a great addition to that. And I think you can, where I got this one was one of those big box discount tool chain stores. I won't mention them by name, but I think most of you know who it is. They they do want a lot of freight. All right, now that we've moved on and we've got the pan attached, you can stop there if you just have it inside like a block surround and you want to be able to lift the entire thing out for cleaning. Then you can separate the pan, empty the ash, and then put it back together and drop it back down inside your surround. But if you want the carry handle, like what I have right here, let's find that. There it is. There's the camera. This is designed to go on something flat, and we are installing it on something that has a curve. Okay, so as you can see, you got a little bit of a gap there, so we want to make a slight tweak. Now you can use a pair of pliers for this. You can try to find something that you can wedge it in between, and you just want to go a little bit at a time. Now I've got these slots in my workbench, and I'm going to just do a little bit at a time on each one, just bending it slightly until I get closer to the profile. Now you can see that profile right there is pretty close, but I think we can do a little bit better so that when we put it up against the side of the Amicus to install the handle, it matches the profile. And just taking a look here, I just got a little bit more to go. You can put it right up against your Amicus and make sure that it's matching that profile on the outside, just so that it's a nice clean looking installation. And you might have to get a little, you might get some twist in it. You don't want any twist. You want it to lay flat on both sides. Okay, we're almost there, just a little bit more. And then what we end up having is something that looks more like this. Okay, so it follows the profile of the outside. This just happens to, it's one of my jigs for construction, just happens to match that profile. But you can just put it up against the side of your Amicus and make sure that it's going to lay on there nice and clean. And then once you get that, once that is done, it's just a matter of placing it in the correct balanced position. I'm going to shoot a little segment on just about where that's good on the Amicus that I'm producing, the full-size units. A good way to tell if you've got good balance is to just get yourself like a 1-inch strap, like from a ratchet strap, go around the drum completely, and then position it and lift it and see if it balances. And that'll tell you just about where you need to place that handle in terms of the distance down from the top of the fire pit, so that when you pick it up and carry it, it's not listing to one side or the other. Choosing which legs to put it in between. I like to put it in between two of these upper section legs, directly in the middle of them. And the best way to select that location is inside here. You see on your Amicus, you'll see the overlap, where the steel overlaps to make the smaller drum, and it's slightly heavier on that side, so it's going to be prone to rolling back to that position. Okay, so in order to prevent the fire pit from rolling easily away from you when you have the handle installed and you set it down after carrying it, is to put it on the opposite side of that weight. So we're going to center it up in between this leg here and this leg here, and we're going to come down about 7 1/4 inches to the center, and then that is going to position our handle for the center line, and then moving about 6 3/4 to 7 inches off of this position here and this position here. You can measure use a flat tape to measure between the two, and try to find that exact center if you want to split the difference. But the estimated is between 6 3/4 and 7 inches over to that first hole that's drilled in the handle. So if we measure it over from this point over 6 3/4 inches to 7 inches, 6 7/8, and laid out a mark and transferred a line over, that would be where you would drill the first hole. And then the center line, moving from the top of your fire pit down 7 1/4. Okay, so I'm going to lay out marks on this so that you can see what I'm talking about. So what I did was I measured over 6 7/8 from here, and I put a mark on there, and I did the same thing off this leg right here on this corner, 6 7/8. And then I measured down from the top of the fire pit down to 7 1/4, which is right here and here. And I'm going to position this on top of here. Now, as you can see, that's pretty doggone close for both sets of holes. So all I really got to do is pick a location and drill that first hole and add the rivets. And then after that, it's just a matter of just squaring it up a little bit and then doing the other 3 holes. Okay, so this is where the rivet and the flat washers that I showed you earlier in the segment. These flat washers are number 6 in size, and after you've drilled the hole like I have in the side of the Amicus Fire Pit, you're going to want to put this flat washer through this rivet like this right here. And the reason you're going to want to do that is because the holes in the handle are bigger than the size of the rivet. So this just acts like a washer to a bolt, and you're going to put it through one hole that you've already drilled, and you're going to connect it, and then you're going to line up the handle and get it squared up and true, and then get the other 3 holes installed. Okay, so we got the first rivet installed right here. We're going to make sure that this handle is squared up pretty nice. It's not an exact, I got it centered up pretty well between these 2 marks. And then of course you just position it according to the distance off of the bottom or the top and get it square. And I've already did this side, so I'm going to do this side, and then I'm going to use a rubber mallet to kind of like shape this and push it down, because it does have a little bit of gap. It doesn't quite match the profile of the of this rib on the Amicus. Okay, so I'm going to get the other 3, this one installed, and we'll tap down these 2, and then we'll get those installed, and that's it. That'd be the end of it. It'd be finished. Okay, I'm trying this with one hand, but you squeeze down on the handle. That's going to tighten it up, and then the entire thing will drop and fall again. Another squeeze, and then it pops loose, and you've got the second rivet installed. And now it's just tapping these down as discussed earlier and doing the same thing. You're just going to use the center line, or the center of these holes, to drill your 1/8 inch hole for your rivets. And then after that, you should be able to pick it up and carry it and still maintain your modular portion. Okay, we're complete. As you can see, the handle is installed. All 4 rivets are holding this handle on the side, and it picks up very nice. Hangs really nicely on the side of my leg here. Doesn't knock into my leg. And then, just like the other video that showed how that modular component, you just press these legs in until they pop free of the retaining pins. Alright, this one just pushes down and it'll pop free, and you lift it up, and now you're modular. Alright, so here we are, up on the bench. You push in, and this lifts right out. And then you can do the same thing with the other 2 legs. You lift that out, and then the entire thing separates, and now you have your Amicus smokeless fire pit is now portable, a lot more portable. You can carry it, and you can also maintain that modular aspects that makes the ash removal so easy. And then putting it back together is the reverse of separating it. Push that in slightly. Let me show you this up close here. There we go. Get that in the frame. Push that in. It drops down, and it just slides right over top of that stud that centers the legs up. Okay, so if you have any questions about this, drop them in the comments. Also, you can ask on the Facebook group if you have any questions about how to make this a reality for your Amicus. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to click on that like and subscribe button. I really would appreciate that. And y'all have a great spring that's coming, and enjoy those Amicus fire pits and make those memories.